Hey, it's Keza, also known as Skylar Loves Gory Movies. And firstly, I apologise that this is going to be a few days late. I was meant to have done this on Thursday, but I had a few stuff I needed to sort out. So this is top 10 Thursdays, 4 days later, so I apologise for that. I think it was Chris that chose the list. Or was it Laurie? One or the other. One of them chose the list, and it was top 10 movies from the year you was born. And mine was 1983, so there's quite a few good films that come up that year. And I have a honourable mention, and let me go down this, and I have 12 for my actual top 10 lists and an honourable mention, but I'll do that in due time. So here we go, let's start. And yes, I'm using my selfie stick again. How good I look. So anyway, my honourable mention goes to Michael Jackson's Thriller, and that's the only reason why I put it down as an honourable mention, because I really did enjoy it, but it did scare the shite out of me as a kid. So enough about that, so let's get into it. Number 10, Flashdance. Everybody's got to have this on their list if they were born in 1983. Don't need to go explain into the movie because everybody knows what happens in the film, so don't need to explain myself. 9 is a film that only recently got put up in my list because I only recently watched it, and I watched it, I think it was just before David Bowie passed away, so of course it's a David Bowie movie. And the movie I'm on about is called The Hunger. It's like a immortal /esque vampire type movie, but it's not as a vampire movie as such, but it does have that vampiratic element to it. But they still have to drink blood so they can secure their immortality. So a little bit of a spoiler alert, but it was a fabulous film, and that's why it's on my list. So we're on to number 8, a film starring Charles Bronson. It's called 10 to Midnight. I only watched this film a couple of months ago, and ever since I watched it, I'm a big massive fan of Charles Bronson movies anyway, because one of my favourite franchises, non-horror franchises, is Death Wish, and I had to have a Charles Bronson movie in my top 10 movies from the year I was born, and I'm so glad I watched it because it was brilliant. So we're on to number 7. Yeah, number 7 is Spasms. It's, how can I explain? It's a film that come out the year I was born, obviously, but it's one of them films where sometimes I'll watch a film, but then I forget about it, but then I've got to watch it to remember it. So that's one of them sort of films. It is a Italian film, from what I can recall, because I watched it just before, I think it was just before, yeah, I got it, I think it was Halloween. I got it for Halloween or just after Halloween. And I haven't watched it since then. I've forgot, because there's other brilliant films that I've watched since then, but I had to put it on my list. So it's number 7. Number 6, another Italian movie. One of my favourite slashers of all time, and I had to put this in my list, and I'm so happy it come out the year I was born. It's called A Blade in the Dark. Recently watched it, and I think I'd done it for my Halloween review, one of my 31 days of subgenre horror challenge. I think I done a review on this, so go to it. It's a brilliant film. I'm just looking at my list. My list is over here. Number 5 is 2 movies. The reason why I put 2 films for it being number 5 is they both star the same actor. First one I'll talk about, starring Elizabeth Shue, who was in The Karate Kid, and I think she's currently, don't quote me on it, but I think she's currently in CSI. And also starring Tom Cruise, and we're on about All the Right Moves. I love that film. Finally got the chance to own it again on DVD after so long. So, which brings me on to the other one, which is in number 5, also starring Tom Cruise. Has one of my absolute favourite scenes of all time, and how I like to dress on a daily basis in my house. That's if I own it. Well, I nick one of Peter's shirts, pair of shorts, or a pair of boxers, and a pair of socks, bopping down to whatever music I can listen to around the living room. And you've guessed it, it's from the movie Risky Business. Absolute one of my favourite films of all time. If I was doing a top 30 favourite films, well, I'm doing a top 31 favourite films, and I'm reviewing 31 favourite films of mine, and that'll probably be on it. So next month is going to be an exciting month, because I'll be still doing my top 10 Thursdays, but I'll be doing my review list as well. Anyway, carry on with my list. Number 4, starring the late great Patrick Swayze. Tom Cruise is also in this. Who else? Matt Dillon. And of course, one of my favourite actors of all time, Ralph, the one and only Ralph Macchio. And of course, I know this is one of Ross's favourite films, so I'm so happy this is on my top 10. And I'm so happy it came out the year I was born. The Outsiders. Great film. Don't need to go into much detail, because everyone knows what happens in the movie. About 2 gangs, and Ralph Macchio, and I've forgotten what the character's name is, but I know the character name. He was Ponyboy. Stay strong, Ponyboy. I love that line. What happened was, there was a stabbing that happened, and Ralph Macchio and Ponyboy had to run away. Matt Dillon put them into a abandoned church where they hid for weeks and weeks. One dyed the hair, and another one took all the grease out, and that's part of the movie. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but that's one of my favourite scenes of the movie as well. So, which brings me on to number 3, last of my 2 movies in one entry. Firstly, I will talk about V. V happens to be one of my favourite TV series of all time. And then when they brought out the film to it, I was hooked. Starring the one and only Robert Englund. Oh, what's the name of the other fella? There was another guy he was in the film The Beastmaster. He's in it as well. So they're about aliens that come from space, and they're sort of like trying to take over the planet. They call themselves visitors, and one of the Earthlings accidentally gets pregnant by the visitors and has a alien baby, and you get the gist of it. And then they're trying to the visitors against the other group are battling against each other, and Willie, was originally a visitor and he turns his back on the visitors to go on the other side because he finds a woman on the other side that he really likes. That's the gist of it. And surprisingly, my other entry for number 3 happens to be that fantastic movie with that absolutely weird ending. And if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. And I'm on about the movie Sleepaway Camp. Need I say more? It needs to be in my entry, my list. So, of course, my number 2 and my number 1 entry actually stars the same actor. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 2, starring John Travolta. You guessed it. It's my top 5 non-horror movie soundtracks of all time. This has to be in my top 5. Of course, it's the movie Staying Alive. I love all the songs to it. It's like the prequel / sequel to Saturday Night Fever, but I actually prefer this over Saturday Night Fever. So, which brings me on to number 1. I'm not going to tease you anymore. Of course, you know who the actor stars in this. The actress that stars beside him is, of course, Olivia Newton-John, which her song to this film is my number 1 favourite movie non-horror soundtrack song of all time. It is called Twist of Fate, the movie. I mean, not the movie, the soundtrack is called Twist of Fate. The film from that is called Two of a Kind. So, go and watch that film. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's an excellent movie. So, let's go through the list again quickly. Honourable mention, Michael Jackson's Thriller. 10, Flashdance. 9, The Hunger. 8, 10 to Midnight. 7, Spasms. 6, A Blade in the Dark. 5, All the Right Moves, as well as Risky Business. 4, The Outsiders. 3, V, and also Sleepaway Camp. Number 2, Staying Alive, and of course number 1 is Two of a Kind. So that's my list. I hope you enjoy it. Next week, I'm sure it's James. I think it's it is James that's doing the list. I'm not 100% certain on that, so it's going to be a good week, good list. I'm excited to do it, and I hope you enjoyed this list, even though it's a bit late. So, of course, stay gory and have pleasant dreams. Ta-ta for now. Bye.